Well, I just got back from PodFest in Orlando, Florida. What an amazing time I had there. People ask me all the time, Big A, why do you go there? Is it about the podcasting? Is it about, what is it about? And my number one answer always is to build relationships. I know I talk a lot on the Facebook Lives. I blog a lot about relationships, but I remember back for a dozen years when I was involved in the Eagles group with all the guys that we did masterminding with in person, we talked about the value of relationships nonstop. I mean, first and foremost, it is your most important asset without a question is developing relationships. On the masterminds in Iron Sharpens Iron this week, I asked the guys, do you have a plan, a strategic plan for developing relationships? A couple of the guys did, and I was so excited that they did. I want to ask you, do you have a plan? Everybody raised their hand and they said, hey, relationships are number one asset in building our businesses, but nobody had a plan. I mean, we strategically have a plan here. We have a LinkedIn plan to where we go out and 50 people on LinkedIn a week we connect with. We're knocking on the door. We first send them the steps to a productive day. And we say, hey, hope you find this valuable. A couple of weeks later, we follow up and we say, hey, what about this personal assessment? Hopefully it will be beneficial to you. A couple of weeks later, we follow up and we say, hey, we've got a document called What Do I Want? Would that be beneficial to you as well? And then people reach back and they go, hey, who is this Avron Walker? What are you doing? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And I say, hey, I just want to tell you more about what we do. It's just a great way to jab, 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 right hook, as Gary Vee says. It just gives them something that they can have great value, all the while knowing who your brand is and getting you an opportunity to knock on the door. Well, that's why I went to PodFest. It wasn't for the curriculum. It wasn't for the presenters on stage. I can get all the information I need online. It was to shake hands and hug necks and meet people in the hall, have breakfast, lunch, and coffee, hanging out with guys that I'd never met. And I've got dozens and dozens and dozens of business cards now of people that said, hey, I want to be in your mastermind group. I want you to be on my podcast. I want to know, would you interview me? I met a guy there named Ron Klein. Ron Klein was the founder and the inventor of the credit card. He also invented the multiple listing service for realtors. He also invented the process that they use for the New York Stock Exchange. The guy is a multi-billionaire. I went up to him and I said, Mr. Klein, I just want to meet you. Started a conversation with him. Ends up, I'm going to interview him myself. Well, see, I wouldn't have had that opportunity had I not been there at PodFest. Whatever industry you're associated with, I want to encourage you strongly to go. If it's not for the content, it's not for the speakers, it's for the relationship. It's being able to reach out. I'll be at Podcast Movement in August. We go to Social Media Marketing World every other year. There are so many opportunities out there for you in your industry to build those relationships. Well, what I'm excited about now is reaching out, further nurturing that relationship so that we can see how we can work together. So my question to you today, do you have an intentional plan that you're building relationships? If you don't, you could be missing out. And there's golden opportunities out there for you today if you'll make this part of your daily routine.